Hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. We're live again for our spiritual transformational show, and I have a guest today. I am so excited to see you all here. Just to make sure that we are broadcasting and you can hear and see me, let me know in the chat area. If you're watching this on the replay, be sure to tell us where you're watching from and feel free to post your questions because I will be answering them throughout the entire day, even when the live stream is over. And guess who my special guest is today? It's Suresh and Ramaswamy is his last name, and he's got a book called Just Be. And today we're going to talk about spiritual transformation as well as raising your vibration. And of course, we'll be answering your questions as usual. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And I hope you have a wonderful day to all of you, even the children out there, and also all full range of nurturing beings who do their best to help people feel loved and cared for. So not just mothers, but anybody who has that nurturing vibration. Okay, so without further ado, let's get Suresh on here to the left. Hi, Suresh.
Hello, Sylvia. Delighted to be here with you and all the viewers joining in. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
So we've done a video before and it was quite popular. A lot of people commented on it and I was so grateful that you were here. But today we connected for two reasons. One, because you reached out, and two, I thought this would be great to have you live so we can answer deep questions because you are not only an author, but you're also a transformational teacher. So if people are looking to raise their vibration, have more spiritually transformative experiences, this is the time to ask your questions. And before we move on, I want to just say hello to the people here that are here right now. So Shelly G is here. Evyatar is here. He's in Israel, believe it or not. And Shelly G is in the mid-America area. And Chris B is here. He's also from the west coast of the United States, actually not far from you. Maria's here, Cynthia's here. Cynthia, you made it this time. That's fantastic. Holly, I didn't know you were going to come today. That's great. Oh, it's hi, Sylvia and Shelley. Kurt is here instead of Holly. So Kurt is Holly's husband, and Holly's always usually here. So thank you, Kurt, for filling in. Simone is here. Nicole is here from New Jersey. All right. Okay, so Shelly G, did you know that it's Kurt filling in for Holly and Melinda? All right, so everyone's rolling in, which is perfect because we are going to be answering some burning questions that people have had, including, speaking of burning, it's not funny, but I do find it humorous. You say it, you tell them, Suresh, one of the questions that people have asked us. Oh, hell.
About
So
hell.
we're going to
Yes.
be addressing hell today as well. And but more importantly, what we really want to do, and we talked for about 5 minutes. I'll be quiet in a moment, Suresh. You'll be able to talk.
No worries. All
I'm
right.
just setting the stage while people come in. We about half an hour ago we talked about how we can serve all of you, and one of the ways we thought is that we can help share what worked for us to unlock the mysteries, the joy, the potential of the universe for us, and how we've become so joyful and have been able to assimilate the wisdom and the higher vibration. So I'm really excited about that because if you did watch Suresh's previous video with me, you know that he goes deep. He's deep. Okay, so Suresh, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you so much again for having me on the show. And just so everybody knows, I'm joining from San Diego, California. Delight to connect with everyone across the country and across the globe. And of course, speaking of Mother's Day, we want to thank Mother Earth for being so nurturing and caring for all the beings who inhabit the planet. So it's such a beautiful day, a beautiful moment to connect with everyone at this juncture. And I think we are at a very special time on the planet, because there's more and more people who want to consciously go there. And what you talked about earlier is wanting to reach for that higher vibration, wanting to reach for perhaps the highest vibration. Some of us are like, we really want to go all the way. We want that absolute highest potential available to us. And that is creating a certain kind of momentum and energy that is very evident, I think, here on Sylvia's show. Uh, that is really what gets me excited when I interact with people, is people who are looking for more than just improving their lives a little bit here, a little bit there, but
Yeah.
really reaching for the highest.
Yes, yes. I'm going to be dragging some. By the way, that was so beautiful. It melted my heart. You'll see some comments come by, and I'm just acknowledging all of the people. And Shelly G said yes about what you just said. Very,
Well,
very exciting. Okay, so what you just said really resonated so much. I can actually feel the vibration in my heart when you were speaking that way, particularly about Mother Earth, because we often forget just how fortunate and nurtured and loved that we are, that she just keeps on giving and giving. Like right now it's springtime where I am, probably where you are too. And it's just so beautiful to see the growth and the new babies. Like around where I am, there's baby deer being born,
mhm.
and new growth of the trees and flowers. And it just reminds me of just how much that we're being loved, and how that's a part of God and a part of God's way of showing us, hey, you're loved. I'm here again.
Yes,
It's spring
yes,
again. Let's do this.
exactly, exactly. And we need that motherly sort of unconditional love for an aspect of ourselves, because we are nurturing and growing a part of us. And so a part of us can have that motherly love and acceptance, so that parts of us which still need to grow up a little bit, they can grow in this beautiful environment of love.
Yes, yes. So, just for a bit of background for everyone, before I forget, I want to let you know that I was a little late in getting the show notes done, but Suresh has created a meditation CD and downloadable audio. And don't let me forget, Shelly G, at the end, I'm going to put a link in to go see it. He also is the author of Just Be, which is a fascinating book. And I feel honored to have you here today. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to answer questions. So, everyone who's in the chat, even if you've never chatted before, or you're just sitting on the sidelines and you have a question about how to raise your vibration, how to enhance your life so that you can receive God's gifts, spiritual gifts, however you want to term it, the universe's gifts, we want to answer those questions for you. Cindy Blount just said, yes, just this morning, the tender, bright green leaves just budding, the promise that life is always renewed. Exactly.
Mhm. Beautiful.
That reminds me of something that you talked about last time. We both talked about an area of where we go when we have raised our vibration. And this is the area that you tap into and I tap into, that gives us that ability to see reality for what it truly is and gives
Mhm.
us that information. Could you share a little bit about your experience for those who don't know you, how you became a transformative teacher and how you became enlightened?
Okay.
That's a big.
Where does one start and where does one end? Um, so, well, ever since my teens, I grew up in India, and I always had this incredible yearning for the unknown. I wasn't quite sure what name to give it to give to it. It was something that was not obviously in the surroundings, so it wasn't obvious success and so forth. So this was very strong, and of course that led me to many books, many teachers, and led me to really teachings which talked about higher dimensions and how we can tap into and access higher dimensions, primarily through inner practices like meditation. So that got me going on a path which developed over many decades, where meditation is very interesting. I was convinced meditation is the best thing for me, but boy, doing meditation is another story. You sit there, it's like nothing's going on. Maybe I should just read a book. Maybe I just should watch some YouTube videos. But there's something about meditation. If you keep persisting, like I did, year after year after year, certain doors within our consciousness start opening up. And these doors are really doors to higher aspects of our own being. These are all within us. So here, this is what we also hear about from NDE accounts. I'm sure your viewers, Sylvia, have heard many fascinating NDE accounts. People who, through the near-death experience, they burst out of the tiny bubble that we typically live in and
Mhm.
saw something spectacular. And they were like, whoa, this is really, truly amazing. And
Mhm.
they came back and reported it to us. Now, luckily, we don't have to go through an NDE to have that expansion, to feel that same unconditional love. We can get there through many means. And I know, Sylvia, you talk about dreams. Dreams is one portal, meditation is another one. What I feel very excited about these days is an incredible way to get access these higher dimensions, and that is through light.
Mm. Mhm.
Light is something we ordinarily think of light as, the electromagnetic light that we see around us. This is what I call physical light. But there is something which is non-physical light, which you don't see with your ordinary eyes. You
Mhm.
perceive it through your inner faculties. And through the inner faculties, it looks like inner light. It's like inside you, there's a whole sky, and inside the sky, there's a sun. And this is the cosmic sun. So when you start connecting with light, when you start engaging with light, and by the way, feel free to interrupt me with any questions or anything that pops up. This light has incredible power to uplift us instantaneously. The only thing is we have to show up and we have to engage with it. We have to call upon it. We have to invoke it. When we do that, we start feeling the light. Some of us might see it, some of us might feel it, but we start feeling it throughout our being. And we have to remember light is not something foreign to us. We are ourselves infinite beings of light. Light is part of us.
Mhm.
And if you think about enlightenment, what is enlightenment? One way to think about it is it's being full of light. When your entire being is full of light, you are enlightened, right? And this light is something that flows through you, it flows within you, and it radiates out to everyone around you. And you start seeing this is really the way to live as a full-fledged being of light, where
Mhm.
you're radiating light and blissed out because of the light. Because when the light flows through you, what do you feel? You feel joy, you feel inspired, you feel you are at a super high vibration.
Yes, yes, yes. I feel like this is going to sound really corny, but I feel like I'd like to just burst into light and travel throughout the whole entire universe and just really expand my being. So we've got a lot of good questions here, Suresh. I'm with you. It's interesting how the last time we spoke was when we did the interview till now, and we've been following a similar path with similar information because the information doesn't change. It is when you meet that vibration, it's a truth that is synonymous throughout the universe. And yes, I like how you said that you get enlightened by receiving the light. And uh, what I do sometimes when I'm not feeling that great, I actually call on the light of
Mhm.
our star for healing. Like, I understand that light is influencing me. Yes, we have a light within, and yes, the kingdom is within, just like people are saying here. They're talking. But the thing is, when we actually move in our world, we are bathed in light that we can't even see as well. And that light contains information, and we are part of that. We are part of that light and made up of that information. It's just that we currently are being human and perceiving that this flesh is who we are. And that's where the disconnect comes. That's where we think, well, we are human and we have human problems and we are not light anymore. And that's not true. And not too long ago, I did a video. I helped a woman. She videotaped her father passing away, and it was his time. He was very, very elderly, and you could see the light moving out of his body.
Wow.
You could see a light moving out, and I thought, wow, that's, if I didn't know her the way I do, and she's a reputable NDEer, I don't know that I would have believed it. I would have thought, well, maybe there's some kind of, but she didn't have any access to high tech, and you could see the light leaving the body and
Wow.
becoming one. Okay, so we've got questions.
Okay.
So now, some of the questions, somebody asked a good question back here. I'm rolling back. How do you stay positive? Paula said, how do you stay positive in the negative vibration, basically, negative
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah. It's a great question because realistically, in our day to day life, we tend to get bogged down with the stuff around us and this challenging stuff that's going on in our personal environments, in the collective environment. And the general tendency is we can easily get drawn into these situations. And when we get drawn in, we find that certain negative emotions are just popping up and we feel, what can I do? We feel powerless. So, the first thing I would say is as you become more conscious and aware of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
before you open up that newspaper or that Instagram feed,
Mm.
connect with who you are because that is something much bigger than just this person who appears to be reading the newspaper. And when you're connected, what happens is everything that you come across is contextualized. And what do I mean by that? It appears like I'm an infinite being looking at this piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
And the impact it has is very, very different. So you will naturally feel compassion and empathy and love, but you won't get drawn into smallness as much. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, you feel there's an inner anchor where you can stay more easily rather than getting drawn into it and then having to fight back to come back to the higher vibration. So you start getting the hang of how do I maintain a baseline of high vibration? And that is the key. If you stay at the high vibration, you don't have to keep going back and forth as much.
Coming from a true spiritual teacher, Suresh, I do the same. So I actually, and I don't not like Instagram or Facebook. I'm fine. I'm neutral about it. But I found myself in the morning. Of course, I honor myself, and I never used to look even. But I found myself scrolling, 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 and there is a vibration in the pictures, in the light, in the words that you read, and you are absorbing those vibrations. And sometimes you disconnect from reality when you are just connecting on that vibrational level. There's that aspect to it. So keeping yourself a pure vessel and connecting with your pure light and your pure vibration, your authentic, just like your book, Just Be, your most authentic vibration. How do you even know if you're sad or mad or depressed if you don't give yourself the opportunity to connect who you are? Not what the world is doing, not what the news said, not what Instagram told you or Facebook or your friend or anything, but how about you? And I really do believe that if people did that, if they could just stay away from any kind of information until they went through at least 15 minutes of meditation, people, we would as a society be healthier, happier, and more joyful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
A
so I have
couple of
another.
other A couple other suggestions I would say before we move to the next question. One
Mhm.
is, if you find yourself, in the midst of a negative emotion, which can happen, or a negative situation, make sure you are maintaining an aspect of yourself which is observing the situation. So we have a tendency to jump into it saying, I am feeling this way. Instead of that, see if you can notice that there is that feeling in your thought stream. So
Mhm.
you can say, I can feel anger passing through me, which is very different than saying, I am angry. So you get some perspective and distance. The other
Mhm.
thing is, which is very important, is to learn the art of letting go of
Mhm.
emotions.
Mhm.
This is so important. We're gonna feel all kinds of emotions throughout our lifetime, and there's nothing wrong with any emotion.
Mhm.
What's important is we don't get stuck in an emotion. So
Yeah.
even if we feel angry, it's perfectly fine. As long as the anger is there's something going on and now it's gone, the anger is gone.
Right.
So to release emotions skillfully is an important piece of that.
That is so good. I mean, and before I answer this question, I want to
Yeah.
share something I received in a meditation in my communion with God. And he said, Sylvia, you will get angry when you judge things. And that's very much what you're saying. If you can stay detached to the events that are occurring without judging them, why did that person do this to me? And why is life like this? And why is it? If you can separate yourself from judging, most people think that judging is like talking bad about someone. But judging is making a preconceived evaluation based on your limited lens right at that moment, or your enlightened lens, whichever it is. But if you're feeling troublesome, it could be an indicator that your lens needs a little bit of a cleanse. To rhyme there.
Yeah.
So basically, when you judge, you get upset. If you're judging and evaluating and you're not stepping aside and looking in and thinking, what's going on here from a spiritual standpoint? Would you like to read the next question? Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Let's see. Nicole asks, I have for a while been so confused and unsure about what path to take in life. What's my purpose? Any advice on discovering what you're meant to do in life? Yeah, very important question to be asking. Very important. So, first thing I'd like to say is if you really step back and look at the human journey, then what you realize is the grand purpose of existence can be simplified and it is pretty universal. One is you could say to evolve, to
Hmm.
evolve. And as we evolve, what does that look like? Our consciousness expands, we discover what reality is all about, and we're filled with love and light. That's what it's all about. And so, this is really our core fundamental purpose.
Hmm.
And so, in a sense, you could say, I know exactly what my life purpose is. That's what it is, to
Hmm.
evolve. And you could further say how that's going to look like. It's going to look very different for each one of us. Obviously, one of us might be a nurse, one of us might be a school teacher, one of us might be a full time mom,
Hmm.
all of which are excellent ways to evolve.
Hmm.
So, what we do is we generally want to kind of have the full details of the plan.
Hmm.
So we feel like, okay, now I'm ready for it. But life chooses to play out differently. Part of the way it unfolds is that it's going to be mysterious.
Hmm.
So the mystery is part of the plan.
Hmm.
So don't feel like you need to know the details of exactly how it's going to unfold in order to be able to participate. What do you really need to participate? Not a whole lot. You don't need to know anything. All you need to do is that here I am, I'm fully showing up, I'm fully present, I'm keeping my vibration as high as possible, I'm using my discernment to make choices, whatever's in front of me, and moving forward, calling upon light. If you just do that, you could just let it unfold.
Oh my gosh, Suresh, we do have to answer this question in a moment,
Yeah.
but I want, I I'm dumbfounded because you just said something that has been with me for a long time that I've never talked about. Patricia, we'll get to your question, okay? She wants to know how to get back to your higher self if you find yourself in smaller things. Okay, so I used to teach leadership in specifically with personal trainers. And so near the end of the course, we would all sit down and I would say to them, so what are you going to do now? Like, how are you going to help people? I was trying to help them sort of see themselves in the landscape of their business. And they would invariably say, class after class, I want to help people. And I thought, well,
Mhm.
that's really good. That's good. That's altruistic. But after hearing it for hundreds of classes, I realized something that wanting the desire to want to help people is one thing. Actually, tapping into your talents of being a teacher or a personal trainer or whatever you're doing, that is your purpose, is to actualize your talents and take action versus wondering. And there's nothing wrong with questioning. There's a season for everything. However, living your life, and I feel like we have such grand aspirations, like perhaps one of us is going to shift the whole world, and in fact, it's a little bit simpler than that. It's actually to be the best version of who you are, which is in itself a feat. And then to not judge everything and everybody as being misplaced. If it's there, there's a good reason for you to take a look at it as the observer and try to understand it as perhaps a challenge, or maybe it's just to get you thinking, to help you shift and change. So these personal trainers that came in, they all wanted to be helpful, but none of them could tell me how they wanted to help people. And there's such a broad range. They could have specialized in exercise mechanics. They could have specialized in just helping people lose weight. They could have done like 101 things, but invariably. So I'm going to ask everybody out there, what is your special talent? And I think the hard part is finding cultivating the minds, the gems in the minds, cultivating your spiritual being so that you can come forth and practice who you are. Instead, when we're scared of that, I think we go outside and start looking at the world. Look at the world. If you're too busy being somebody, you don't have enough time to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. I'm sure you don't have a lot of time, Suresh. You're teaching people and doing things and living life. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's such an important point, really, to get in touch with who you are. And, in my book, Just Be, I talk about it in the language of beingness because we're so busy doing. We have a very strong programming that if I do all the right things, that's what it's all about. I'm obviously going to succeed. I'm obviously going to get enlightened, etc., etc. All I have to do is do the right things.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out there's a fundamental flaw in that. It's not about the doing, it's about being. And being shifts us to a different place. And it's really about that shift. It's about that shift. So we as we hang out in our own beingness, we actually feel that inner fulfillment and inner satisfaction right now. We don't have to wait till 20 years from now I've done all these things, then I'm going to feel good. You actually feel that shift right now. Guess what? Your shift in consciousness, you're already contributing to the collective in the best possible way by helping everybody else, by uplifting everybody else to a higher vibration.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That I just got to drag this comment over here, which was really cool. We are human beings, not.
Yes,
I've heard that.
exactly.
That
Exactly.
gosh, I have to invite you over to Canada so that we can do some speaking together because it's just wonderful to hear you saying that. Hello, Prashant. Hello, Karen. It's great to see you. Hello, Maria. We can see everything. If you see my eyes shifting, it's because I'm trying to listen
Yeah.
and do at the same time. I'm a I'm a doing being at the moment. I want to just be a human being. Okay, Jim says, what do you recommend for knowing God is on your side instead of against you when you pray for help? I think of the reference to him loving the sparrows and knowing that we are worth uh, more than them. Interesting. I feel like God loves us all equally, to be honest. Like I don't. I think when God, the energy of the life is breathed into a planet, a human, a star, an ant, a sparrow. I think we are equally loved. I know that we really want to be special, and we are because we are just but everything and everybody is special because it is all made from that. And Jim, I feel like I'm going to answer and then I hope you answer too, Suresh. But how can a force of nature that brings you flowers in the spring, the sun in the morning, a universe bigger than you could even conceive of? It's even hard to conceive of our galaxy, never mind billions of galaxies in the universe, be against you. First of all, and I don't mean any disrespect, but we would literally have to be out of our minds to think that God doesn't love us because of the evidence is so overwhelming. The question truly is, why don't we love ourselves?
Yeah, great point. Great point. Uh, yeah, let me respond to that. And I know Patricia's question a few minutes back, we had to go back to that. We didn't really
Okay.
speak to that. So we'll go back to that. So, to respond to Jim's question, it goes back to what we think God is. And that's where the trouble starts. We usually think we kind of know who we are. So we think God is like this, almost like Superman. It's just a man, but was very, very powerful, like maybe a million times what I am. And that's not quite how I see God. I tend to think of God as this infinity, which is not a being or an entity. It's an intelligence, it's a vast consciousness, which is all encompassing. And if you think about how infinity sees us, it is not assessing us based on our doings, which is how we tend to assess ourselves. Even our job reviews say, okay, let's see what you did in the last 6 months. What did you accomplish? We are used to being graded based on our doings. Now, infinity does not see us as these creatures who are busy doing things.
Mm-hmm.
It sees us as these emanations of itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are emanations of that infinite. We are beings of light. So, since we are seen as beings, we can never be less than some arbitrary standard. We are pristine, we are beautiful, we are perfect, we are inherently loved. There's no question of something other than love because we are part of it. If we were separate from it, then you can say, does this person like me or not? But when you are part of it, we are part of that infinity. It's not like there's infinity and we are like sitting out there. We are part of that infinity. So infinity loves itself, infinity loves us, and God, if you want to use that term, has no choice really. God cannot do anything else but love because God is love.
Mm-hmm.
And so are we. It's just that temporarily we are a little bit caught up in a smallness, but we too are just like that. We too are just like that.
Okay, so we're going to answer that, but also Simone
Yeah.
Albo said something that I want to make sure I address, and it goes to the evil part that we were going to talk about a little bit.
Ah,
So first of all, we'll read Patricia's. Do you want to read Patricia's, and then I'll move
sure,
down?
sure. So Patricia's question, which she asked a while back, how do you come back to higher self if you find yourself mired in the smaller, more human self? Which is a very pertinent question because realistically, most of us find ourselves in a very human situation and we feel the intensity of that. And that's when we really start asking these questions. Otherwise, everybody is happy booking the next cruise, going on the next vacation, looking at the next fun thing to do. But when life gets intense, we start asking the big questions and we say,
Mhm.
why is this happening to me? I'm not a bad person. What's wrong? or somebody dear to us passes away, we're like, this is not right. Something's wrong here. So I need to find out. So that wanting to know the bigger picture is the first step because it opens us up. This is a big thing. As long as you're closed, you tend to be small. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as you open, you will find, even if you don't do anything, you will find your life is getting bigger, your consciousness is getting bigger. Because into that openness, life can flow into it. And when life flows through you, you get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you actually, even though you may still look like a human being, you're actually, infinity is operating through your humanness at
Yes.
that point.
Oh my gosh, I
And
love
so we don't want to hold on tightly to our humanness. So that's my short answer. Don't hold on to the humanness too tightly.
it.
Relax it, release it, knowing that there's something bigger, there's something incredible, and that is very much who you are. It's not something outside of you, it's part of you.
Oh, love it. Reminds me of something. So, you go through meditation and you tap into the wisdom, and also you're allowing yourself to be a vessel for the universe and for this information. And I have dreams and I meditate too. Most recently, in meditation, my father gave me a great dream, and he said, Sylvia, you hang on to your roles way too tightly. I mean, you're squeezing your rolls. And I thought, what does he mean by that? It took me about a year to fully understand what he meant by that. Here I am as Sylvia. Happy Mother's Day, by the way. I'm a mom of two. I'm a wife. I do this, I do that. And I identified myself so much with all these things and the roles that I played that I forgot who I truly am. And when you hang on so tightly to your identity as who you think that you are versus what you truly are, it can get really confusing and you can feel very sad if a loved one passes away, which is completely natural. It's 100%, it's the only 100% guarantee we have is that we will perish from here as human flesh. That's one thing we can guarantee, and yet it upsets us so much. However, I did want to address a couple of things here. So when he said hanging on to the rules too tightly, you need to let go. Obviously, it's a work in progress for all of us. However, I wanted to mention it. I like this one because it says, God loves us all. He may be against evil actions, but not against us. He discerns. Now, this is something I want to address because I often talk about Jesus and God on my channel because I love Jesus. I think he's a great master and has some excellent things to keep me on a high vibe. That's what keeps me on a high vibe. However, I want to make sure I'm not confusing people with that and religion. I really don't see that you need to support me on this one. I don't perceive God as being that person saying this is good, this is bad, that's evil. Ooh, and like sending people to hell damnation. Now, we're going to talk about hell. We talked about this in the beginning. Suresh was prepared for this. It's different for everyone, okay? But as your vibration is, so you will experience. I believe that if you're fixated on creating a vibration of fear, anger, angst, pushing down good and letting evil grow, that you create an environment that is hellish. People feel so steeped in this environment that they create that people take their lives even because they don't see a way out. And that's right here on earth. And there are environments, and I've been there in my dreams, where there is that black cloud where you can see it, or fire, or whichever you want to see it. But understand, you are not some subject that is subject to a random punishment, that you have power. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. You are not some powerless being that is just left out in the universe and here you're on your own. You are equipped with a heart, the desire, the thoughts, and the potential to be anything you want to be. And it baffles me to imagine why anybody would want to focus on being in hell, seeing hell, caring about it. I mean, it's just not where you want to go. Like Howard Storm, an NDEer, the version of hell that he experienced was horrific. I would never want to go there. I don't even want to hear it, to be honest with you. I'd rather not hear it so I can't have that in my mind's eye. And also, do you really believe that if you love with your heart and be the best version of yourself with all sincerity, do you think it's possible to go to the presupposed hell? Suresh, I want
Mhm.
to hear what you think.
Sure, sure. So a lot of these words that we hear, like hell and evil and judgment, they put us in a place of fear, if you notice, because we usually think, gosh, I want to make sure I don't end up there. You know,
Yes, yes.
that sounds like a scary place. I wouldn't want to go there on vacation and or after I die. Um, Instead of that, I would suggest think of it this way. You know, you can be as you go through life, you could be less conscious or more conscious. You could be lower vibration or higher vibration, or you could choose to be more in the light or less in the light. And this is pretty much what plays out even after you die. It's exactly the same thing. Essentially, your baseline level of consciousness is going to dictate which vibrational realm you are drawn to. Nobody throws you there, you are drawn to it.
Yes.
So,
Can we just stop for 1 second and free up what you
yeah,
just
sure.
Nobody throws you there. You are drawn to it. Your thoughts, as a man thinketh, so he is. Be very mindful of what you're thinking, the words you're saying, and the actions you're doing, and who you are being, because that's what draws you to earth, to here, to there. You are being pulled in the attracted to. It's almost like a colliding. So, this is why it's so important that we understand what you're saying. Please continue. That was so good.
Yeah. So there need be no fear whatsoever as you raise your vibration, like even as right at this moment, as you raise your vibration, as you call upon light, as you sit in that expansive state, you can know that all will be well
Mm-hmm.
now and in the future because you will be drawn increasingly towards the light because you're already vibrating at a pretty high frequency. So the light is so much more attractive. You are going to be just, you can't resist going into the light. And so, the, so everything we talked about earlier, like things like hell, they only are scary for somebody who's relatively unconscious and who does not want to become conscious, who does not want to be aware. So
Mm-hmm.
you who are listening to this, you are highly aware.
Yes.
The fact that this conversation you find even remotely relevant and interesting means that you are a highly aware being. And you might say, well, I still feel angry. I still feel tired. I still feel so many things going in my life. That's totally fine. That's
Right.
totally fine. You have the ability to lift yourself up. And in my book, I talk about this transcendence. You can transcend this reality.
Yes.
And somebody had asked earlier about higher self. You know, that's how you connect with your higher self. To develop the ability to transcend this very entangling state of affairs. And when you transcend, you will experience high vibrations. And it's pretty obvious what you're going to feel there. You're
Mhm.
going to feel excellent. You're going
Yeah.
to feel like, wow, this is what I was looking for. Why didn't somebody tell me about this? So
Okay.
the trans that'll give you that what you're looking for.
I
And
love
then,
it.
of course, it's a matter of integrating that, stabilizing in that until that becomes your ordinary state.
Exactly. Excellent. So that is very applicable to all of us. However, I want to go back to the other end of the spectrum because I have given this thought. So if it's true what we are saying, which I do believe it's true, and that you create it basically. There are some people I feel that if they didn't believe that they were going there, might commit atrocities. I believe that in the past, some enlightened people who perhaps, and I'm so glad you're here to protect me on this conversation because I know it's wildly um, polarizing. So here's the thing, if you are committing crimes and doing bad things, and you have a fear of God, and you think you're going to go to hell, it's probably a good thing because you will not do those things. However, that doesn't mean that's the level of consciousness that you're talking about at such a low. I never want to commit any crimes. I just want to be alive and be happy and be joyful. So when you're looking at it from there, and even if somebody did believe that they were so atrocious, so unwanted, and that God was such a punisher that they after they died they actually did experience hell, it would only be for the purpose of wanting to get out.
Yes, yes.
You hear those stories. It's like, I was in hell and then I reached up and I called Jesus' name and he saved me. Excellent. You didn't have to be there in the first place. This earth isn't a boot camp. It isn't a bad place and nothing bad. We just got to bust through all of these notions and understand is exactly what Suresh was just talking about, a level of consciousness. At a level of consciousness here, you're thinking it is. And then once you get up here, you're like, oh yeah, I just had a bad day and I was thinking bad thoughts and I need to get over it and raise my vibration and do a little meditation. And then for other people, it's like, I'm going to hell, you know. And that's all they occupy their minds
Hmm.
on that.
Hmm.
Can you speak to that while I look for some more questions?
Sure. Yes. So, of course, what we're talking about here, vibrations and consciousness and all these kinds of things, not everybody's ready to hear that. And
Mm-hmm.
some may want a cruder version of that,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit more sort of scarier because they
Mm-hmm.
only understand fear. They're
Mm-hmm.
living in fear. They need a fear based motivation. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I can see how it could be depicted in those terms so that to scare people out of doing bad things. Um, but exactly like you said, I don't think anybody needs to be scared of ending up in a really bad place and being stuck there forever.
Yeah.
Uh, as soon as you indicate a willingness to expand into love and light, you will be pulled out of that. So that's what we want to remember.
Okay, so Toby said something interesting, and I can see he's wanting to really understand. He said, I've heard some interesting stories that people who have found Christ in jail or murders, they have come out of it. Now, typically, I don't allow the conversation to go here, but I feel like two things. I think that this is a good opportunity to talk about this just for now, but don't expect this from this channel all the time. And I'm doing it with a very highly evolved being, I believe, so that he can support me on this journey to explain this. Jesus Christ came here for those people who needed him. And you meet Jesus where you're at. And the vibration of Jesus as being a master and God's son, just like we are sons and daughters of God and part of the universe. However, he came with the sole purpose of helping. If you even read some of his works, he talks about, I didn't come for people who are fine. I came for people who needed me. Like, people who are fine can come to me too, but that was my purpose. So if someone's in jail and they feel they need forgiveness and they want to avoid all that, that is where they're at. But you don't have to be there. You don't. And there's so many people on earth right now that are raising the vibe. That's what this show is. Raise the vibe. Like, can we do something more than be afraid and hurt each other and blow up the earth? And like, okay, we're over it now. What's the next stage and phase? Could we be more creative, more loving, more interesting, more dynamic? Let's get over the archaic ways of thinking and being. And that doesn't mean abandoning God, that means embracing God. It means gratitude for goodness and gratitude for light and all of the positive things that we've been talking about. Let go of the old, embrace a new spiritual way of connecting from your heart and the light.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah, I think of, great beings like Jesus. They, first of all, they're not historical figures. Uh, we tend to think of them as somebody who lived so many years back. No, they're alive. They are consciousness. They represent a very high state of consciousness. And sure, they were embodied for a certain period of time, but their availability and their message is timeless. And if you tune into that, there's many, 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 many levels of that. And they can pick you up wherever you're at and keep taking you higher and higher all the way to infinity. So we do not want to, the problem is we put ourselves in a little box
Mm-hmm.
and we distance ourselves from such amazing beings. The more we can drop the distancing, drop the separation, just connect and go with it, you will find yourself uplifted to super high vibrations. And really, it doesn't really doesn't matter if you're in a very, very low vibration or very high vibration. It just doesn't matter. That's the incredible blessing that they offer, that we'll meet you wherever you're at and we'll pick you up.
Yes, we'll meet you wherever you're at. I'm getting emotional now. Because there's so much goodness out there and there's so much positivity. And every time I come on Saturday, I really just want to let people know that there's a better way to enjoy God, because there's, I can't even tell you, if you have the gratitude, you'll be so overwhelmed with joy in your heart for the things that have been given to you. But we keep looking for this mysterious thing that is already here. And it's like the thing we already have is not good enough. I've seen that before. That's not good enough. And we really do have. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Is a thank you, Suresh and Sylvia. Craig said.
Cool.
Thank you also from Holly's husband, Kurt, that gave us a super chat. Well, I guess we're winding up. I don't ever want to stop this conversation, to be honest. I wish you were on my show more often. I wish that you were a guest. And if you would like to connect with Suresh more, I'm going to post his website below. Thank you, RRLLL, for this generous. Thank you so much, both of you guys. Look what they're doing. They're
Oh,
really
oh,
appreciating the channel and making it
here.
possible. I don't say
Okay.
it very often, but I'll tell you why I appreciate the super chat so much, because it allows me to make this my work. And it allows me to focus and come every Saturday and in between answer your questions and messenger and emails and all that. So I appreciate.
Mhm.
Yes, so Suresh he's a teacher. He teaches this. This is what he does for work. And right after, because I was a little behind, I'm going to post all of the links, the link to his book, his new meditation that's coming out. I want to get it too. I'm going to get your meditation. And he also does group setting teaching. So if you're in that area, or do you do it on Zoom now? Now that
I do it on Zoom too. Yeah.
right. It makes me feel so joyful to know that you're just a little bit down south the coast and that you are creating the light and vibration that you do. Because it's people like you and the people watching that when their hearts are light and filled with a higher vibration, I believe this, and maybe you can shed some light on it too, Suresh, but we actually raise the vibe of humanity. So you're not just raising the vibe for you.
Yes.
And remember that you can become stronger and have a stronger positive vibration when you connect with others. We're not having like, oh, I've got a good vibe. Nobody else does, get away from me. No, it's that the
Yeah.
more people that can join in with your vibration, you can grow it. So when you're being good in San Diego, that's where you are, and I'm being good here on the Vancouver Island, what we're doing is we're sending out these positive vibrations and connecting. And if you want to raise yours, meditation, like Suresh said, listen to it, be in nature, put your feet on the ground, touch earth. Um, yeah, be in nature. I
Beautiful.
love you, Suresh. I love you, people that are watching. I genuinely, like today, my heart is bursting. Thank you for the super chat. What? Oh my, I cannot believe my eyes. Prashant, I have not experienced this before. I hope you didn't make a mistake. If you did, I'll help you out. Thank you for that generous. He said, thank you, Suresh and Sylvia. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you, Sylvia, for creating this beautiful community and the work you are doing. It's absolutely amazing. It's such a joy to be with you and with all the viewers. Such amazing interactions. It totally delights me. Thank you.
Well, Suresh, I hope we didn't overwhelm you because we had the chat. We're asking you questions. I just want you to know, I know my people, like they're thanking you. Thank you from Patricia. Thank you from Shelly G. Karen says, whoa. And maybe that was rupees. He said it was rupees. I don't know. Either way, thank you. It could be. Suresh, will you come back again?
Oh, I'd love to. I would absolutely love that. Yes.
Please
Yes.
do. Be a regular fixture whenever you feel like it. Send me an email and say, Sylvia, I'd like to come on your show this Saturday. And
Okay.
maybe, you know what? If I'm ever away, perhaps you could do like a takeover. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
I'm away, you could. I would love that.
Fantastic. And thank you for the generous offer. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and
Delight.
please rush to the links once they're up. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to go and put all the links up right now. Bye bye. Bye, everyone. See
Bye,
you on.
everyone. Thank you.